Your task, your assignment, your mission for today is to write a paragraph using 3 kinds of repetition: anaphora, epistrophe, and anadiplosis. Anaphora is a rhetorical device that features the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses, phrases, or sentences. For example, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. This is an example of anaphora. You better is a phrase repeated at the beginning of successive clauses. Or how about we came, we saw, we conquered? The repetition of we is an example of anaphora. Now, epistrophe is the repetition of words at the end of a clause or sentence. For example, government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. The repetition of the people at the end of successive clauses is an example of epistrophe. Here's another example of epistrophe. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. The repetition of a child at the end of a clause is, once again, epistrophe. Now, anadiplosis is the repetition of a word or words in successive clauses in such a way that the second clause starts with the same word which marks the end of the previous clause. For example, if you've seen the movie Gladiator, then you've surely heard this line by Emperor Commodus. The general who became a slave, the slave who became a gladiator, the gladiator who defied an emperor. Striking story. The repetition of slave and gladiator in this case is an example of anadiplosis. You see, the word slave ends one clause and begins the next, and the word gladiator also ends one clause and begins the next. Here's another example of anadiplosis. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. That's right, Yoda in Star Wars is skilled at using anadiplosis. Anger ends one clause and begins the next, then hate ends one clause and begins the next. Voila, you have anadiplosis. Now that you know what anaphora, epistrophe, and anadiplosis are, your task is to use each of these forms of repetition in a paragraph. Here's an example. Every student and every teacher and every person at the school knows this simple fact. The Vikings are the best team in football. When the Vikings drafted Justin Jefferson, the team's offense became explosive like Jefferson, and the team took on a winning mindset like Jefferson. The Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl this year. This year, they're going to shock the world. The world has no clue what is coming. What is coming is this: the start of a Viking dynasty. A dynasty greater than any other team in the history of football. So once again, your mission is this: write a paragraph using 3 kinds of repetition: anaphora, epistrophe, and anadiplosis. Good luck.